everyone, and welcome to Command Center, your video game book club podcast. My name is Daniel, and with me is...
Todd Hinckley, CEO of Jesus Take the Rails, the greatest train system in Texas.
And the guy who always sits in the middle, Jay.
Yeah, there he is. There he is.
I liked it better when you were
One Buzzcut, by the way.
Cigar Garcia. What was it?
Cigarcia.
Cigarcia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with John F. Train.
Cigarcia.
You know, the guy who started Tampa and Ybor.
You had that show, right? Mind of Cigarcia.
That's a show I could have been so happy with never hearing the name of again.
That show was worse than that joke.
Well, I mean, he said
Not
Beaner.
really, honestly. That's what makes that even
he was
worse.
Honduran.
Yeah, he was Honduran. He just grew up in a Mexican neighborhood. We're talking about Carlos Mencia, for those who didn't follow along.
Honduras is Central American. I always confuse it with Ecuador. Yeah, so I mean, he was still Central American.
Yeah, but he's trying to pull off being a Mexican.
Yeah. That's like making fun of Americans all the time and claiming you're American and being a fucking Canadian.
But he was also, like, raised in LA, so I feel like he got enough hate to justify using it. Not that I have an opinion.
I don't have a problem with him using the word beaner. I don't think anyone has a problem with the word beaner. I'm Mexican, by the way, for those listening, and I've never had a problem with it. That's just a stupid moniker.
Yeah, I guess I've always... like,
It's a very funny word.
It is a funny word. Like, oh, they like to eat beans.
Mix.
Yeah, motherfucker, they're good.
That's what, like, I never even thought of that.
Yeah, no, it's from
That's dumb. That's super dumb.
Daniel,
it's super dumb.
When me and Daniel lived together, we looked up a long list of racist offensive terms, and the only one he could find for Scottish was it Bloody Scotsman?
Dirty Scotsman.
There were plenty for English.
I mean, well, a lot of people hate the English.
Like those dirty Scotsmen, myself included.
I want to just throw out as a disclaimer, I wasn't looking up this list to, like, use with malice or anything.
I mean, he was.
Only
to me.
Exactly. Yeah. And really, who can argue with that?
And anyone he viewed as racially inferior. He's got, what is it, the race of the people in Spanish tattooed on his chest?
No, it's long live the race.
Yeah.
Viva la raza, which is a very common... never mind. So...
I'm glad I don't have any tattoos.
Have you guys played any video games lately? I have.
Nope, I was just Googling ways to make people uncomfortable with their own heritage.
I played Railroad Tycoon 3.
We did. In fact, this whole podcast did. Hopefully some of you listeners did as well.
I mean, I would certainly hope so. Otherwise, why the fuck are you listening? But if you haven't played, still listen. Do that.
Yeah, we have much to say.
So, Railroad Tycoon 3, released in 2003, and the graphics definitely show it. It was developed by Pop Top Software. I don't know what else they made, because I couldn't find that information anywhere.
They made all the Tropicos, didn't they?
So Pop Top was founded in 93, and they got acquired by Take-Two Interactive in 2000. I don't know when the first Tropico came out, but I know that that company eventually got absorbed into Firaxis, which made the Tropicos.
Yeah, they made the first Tropico before they were... publisher was a gathering of developers.
Yeah.
Tropico,
Yeah, I had written that down in my notes here because I thought that was the laziest name of a company ever.
That's not a name, is it?
That's the name of the company, is Gathering of Developers.
I thought it was multiple developers got together and let's publish this shit.
These are people who presumably name a lot of things and are supposed to be creative, and they named their company, like, or Gathering of Developers. What do we call ourselves?
Maybe it's supposed to be ironic. I don't know.
Well, it may also have been a bunch of small developers getting together, pooling their resources so they could actually publish games.
No, that's probably exactly what it was.
So they've got enough money to publish one or two. They vote on which one they want, and then we should probably look this up. I've got the internet in front of me.
They couldn't come up with a proper name for their company?
Well, it's like, you ever see Congregate?
Well, we're changing the name of the podcast to Gathering of Assholes. There. That was way simpler.
That could be used for any, like...
But then we might get unwanted assholes in here.
Is there such a thing as an unwanted asshole?
I'm looking at two of them.
Oh. Womp womp.
Got jokes.
So, anyways,
game now?
Pop Top, after they were acquired by Take-Two in 2000, they became a part of the 2K label in 2005, and then promptly closed in 2006.
Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, which is weird, because I thought they made a pretty good game with Railroad Tycoon 3. What did you guys think?
Really dumb thing I thought right out of the get-go was trying to compare this to Roller Coaster Tycoon, and I will go out and say, disclaimer, I probably will say Roller Coaster Tycoon throughout this entire one. We can put out a count, or somebody else can just put out a count for how many times I do that.
Why don't we start a count right now?
I know. I've been doing it literally the entire time.
I volunteer as tribute.
And I was very, very surprised to see that it wasn't actually anything like Roller Coaster Tycoon at all. Apparently, Tycoon is just like the type of game.
Yep, yeah.
This is, and it's like there's not like one developer that makes that. There's different developers making a Tycoon.
So you thought this was like part of a series of games from the same developer that made a bunch of different Tycoon
exactly.
games?
That's exactly what I thought it was.
Well, Tycoon, like the word.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
okay.
Yeah, I just thought because especially back in the day, especially watching you playing it and seeing the CD-ROM discs, when they had Tycoon, their font looked exactly the same. So that's what made me think that.
I do think that Roller Coaster Tycoon and Zoo Tycoon, I want to say maybe are the same developer, which might be a reason that you thought that. But I never played Zoo Tycoon, so I don't know.
They were a decent portion of the market for a minute there in the late 90s up to the mid 2000s, where
Tycoon type games?
they were literally Ant Tycoon, like where you could be an ant.
Dude, Ant Tycoon was awesome. Did you ever play that?
No, I was a Sim Ant fan. I mean, I wasn't. I just
Oh, wait, no, I'm thinking of Sim Ant.
Me too, yeah. I
Yep.
totally lied about that. There was not an
Shit.
Ant Tycoon. Yeah. Shit, I'm fired.
Yeah.
But anyways, after finding that out, it took me a while to get used to it. I had to like learn some strategies because this is not really my topic, my cup of tea of game. I'm more into first person shooters or I don't know, story-based aspects, and this type of game, like, I don't even really like, because we were just talking about it, you wanting me to play this game. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Minecraft?
You forgot the name of Minecraft?
Yeah, there you go. See, that's how little I, like, know/care about the game. I like watching people play it, but I kind of have, like, no interest in playing that type of game.
Very different type of game.
It's more of, like, where you have, like, the free reins of doing whatever you want to do. I kind of, like being like, all right, here's what you got to do, learn these set of things, and then,
right.
Like...
You want the structure and like
exactly, which, granted, this game did give you that, and I did like that aspect of this game, and I don't know, it just made me want to play more types of this game, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like RTSs, I don't know if this is strictly RTS.
This is it's like a Tycoon-style RTS.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, I really liked all the aspects of it, learning that like there's more to doing the economics of I don't know, taking out bonds and all those different aspects that you had to think of other than just making kind of like a SimCity-esque type thing. Right.
And there are train games like that. There's a lot of train games like that where it's just you just simulate a train network and you don't have the stock market and the business aspects of all that. I think it's oversaturated with that, I think, now. Because I tried to find a more... There's no Railroad Tycoon 4, but I tried to find, like, the spiritual successor, and there kind of isn't one. There's Railroad Simulator, I guess that's what it's called. But
well, the fourth game in the series is Sid Meier's Railroads.
Is it?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Then I'm sure I found it then, but I think I looked at it and it wasn't exactly what I was looking for
if you look up Railroad Tycoon 3 on Good Old Games, so I mean, yes, Sid Meier's Railroads was the fourth game in the series. The first one and the fourth one are the only ones that Sid Meier had direct input on. But he came back after 3 and 2 got big and said, I really like these games. Let me help out. Their reviews throughout the series just keep going downhill. That was a bug dying. If anyone heard that, it just got zapped to shit.
Got him is what we like to say. But because reassuring or re-inferring. Reiterating that we are in a garage outside.
It's a command center.
It is a command center.
Yeah. Yes.
But there are a ton of like railroads. There's a bunch of different games that are coming out more recently that are kind of trying to mine the vein that this game was in, where it's you get not just the aspect of build a train network and play with some choo-choos because you're a little kid, but also forcefully take over your friend's company because who doesn't want to play Monopoly on a computer and end a friendship?
Yeah, I
as in yes, or I as in...
Monopoly on a board game ends enough friendships. I don't think I need to do it on computer games
Hey, man,
either.
you never had a pile of pink 50s tossed in your face by you.
That sounds oddly sexual.
Let's talk about running this train then, huh?
Oh, God. So, just to jump back on what you were saying about other railroad games, so I've been playing Railroad Tycoon 3 on and off like since I was a kid. When I was a kid, I didn't understand how to play. I just liked to make trains and all that, and I didn't really pay any attention to the stock market because I didn't know what the fuck a stock market was and how it worked, or even like the economics. I was just like, oh, here's two big cities, let me connect them. Surely it'll make money. No. So anytime like I won a scenario or a mission, it was kind of just by pure dumb luck. So coming back to it now, when I have a better grasp of the mechanics of the game and how it works, was definitely a lot more fun because I could do more with less. But looking for a similar game that came out a little bit more recently that maybe had better graphics and all that, which I should say the graphics did not detract from this game at all for me because this game was completely the mechanics.
It was the graphics were good-ish. They weren't bad, but there were places where a modern game, like 2 pieces of the track literally would just be off by a couple pixels and the train would just hit it and just twitch. And you don't see that as much in modern games, I feel like.
I don't know. I honestly didn't have a problem with the graphics at all.
Yeah.
It seemed really... It looked fine. Like, obviously it didn't... Because the thing about it is, like, what is it supposed to look like? A super realistic version of, like, the topography and, like, all of that nonsense. I feel like if this game were to come out today, it would look, like, similar to this.
Well, I mean, like, obviously the map is representative. Because otherwise the trains would be huge.
No,
but I mean, if you were to zoom in on a train and like really look at it, I mean, it looks like shit. But I don't think anyone's playing this game to zoom in and look at the train models. Maybe they were back in 2003.
It also limits how far you can zoom in, which is something a lot of games have done throughout gaming. Is that the further you zoom in, Homeworld Cataclysm, I go back and play that. If you're zoomed out, everything looks great. When I zoom in and like you can see the bitmap, and it's not good.
Well, so I was just reading that this game when it came out, I think I told you guys about it. They were like, this should have been 2D. 3D doesn't work for strategy games, which is kind of funny because almost all games are 3D now, unless you're doing like old like 8-bit ones. But for the trains and the buildings, they made up to 9 different actual like models for them. So when you zoom in, it pulls up a different file. So they have the ones for zoomed out and the ones for zoomed in, which you know I think was a good fix, like an early fix for a game that was having problems with graphics.
So does it and it cuts down the polys as well, or is it just different skins on the?
Well, it'll have like zoomed out, you'll have less polys. Zoomed in, you'll have more. But it's not like I think now, like if you were to have that game like that, when you zoom out, it would just naturally you're looking at more polys from further away, so it looks smaller.
Yeah.
Instead of actually changing the file that you're looking at and changing the actual image that you're seeing, which I thought was, I don't know, kind of handy. I don't know.
Yeah.
What the word is that for that?
Yeah, none of us are developers or graphic designers.
Yeah, again, let me reiterate, we're in a garage. Command center. Excuse me.
Well, I mean, I guess along those lines, I guess we can segue to the glitches that we came across.
Yeah.
So I had 2 major ones that really pained me because, like I said before, these aren't the type of games that I usually play, and so like I was just taking my time. I'd play on slow, very slow for a little bit, but I got to the point where I could just play on normal. And be okay.
You're a little slow.
Yeah. Anyways, so I got to the point where I forget what scenario it was. The first time we were playing, do you remember the scenario where
when you guys were
had to connect to 2 places? It was you had to connect to one place to another. I can't remember which one it was, but the scenario is that you had to win. You had to transport cotton from one place to the other.
Yeah, we were playing the southeast map.
Yeah, exactly, and like whoever transports the most cotton wins.
Right.
Cotton gin scenario. I don't know.
What? I feel like you have a very poor understanding of a cotton gin.
I don't know. For some reason, I was just thinking...
I mean, it's my favorite drink.
Yeah.
God.
Exactly. Anyways. I mean, that's the only one I know.
Wait, so what was the bug?
So the bug was...
In my drink.
Was literally... This is the first time I was doing well. I was doing terrible at first. I was, like, getting like... the board of directors were pissed at me at first. I was losing money left and right. But I finally pulled it around, and I was making enough money. And I connected the 2 towns. And I I think I was the only one who was connecting those two towns on the map because I don't think you were.
Yeah, you had to haul like 100 loads of cotton to Chattanooga.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah,
That's a very real life problem for me all the time.
I can never move my cotton.
exactly. Come on.
Damn it.
So I was the only one there. The scenario ends, and the CPU that was all the way in the top right region won. They weren't even connected
to the city.
They didn't even have the most gross. Like my finances were the best on the entire map. It had to have been a glitch.
It was a glitch because the whole goal was not to have the highest company value, not to have the highest personal value. It was solely to connect to Chattanooga and haul cotton. And this guy was in like, I don't know, fucking
Dexter,
whatever
Alabama.
is northeast of Chattanooga.
nowhere near, and it sucked.
Yeah.
I felt bad for him. He was really excited.
It was my first time doing well, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna actually like win this scenario." And like,
Surprise, motherfucker!
so that's the first one. But who else has like a good one they can?
This isn't a bug, but there's if you haven't bought the game yet, or if you bought the game and you're looking to play multiplayer, there is a multiplayer patch out there. And if you want to talk about bugs, that patch is where you go because that thing is filled with bugs. But it does
Bugs butt.
supposedly work. I was not able to get it to work. These guys have computers 2 feet apart from each other, so they just land. But yeah, the only bugs I noticed in the game were like literally graphical glitches, track connections, or like I told you that one bridge. I built a bridge across the river, and one side of the river is 2 stories higher than the other side, and the bridge, rather than angling downward, stayed up, and the track just started at ground level. So my trains would just drive off a bridge, drop 2 stories, and land on the track with no degradation of speed, which is pretty cool by me.
So let me ask you something. Did you have this thing where you would just have track be made out of nowhere that was like either in like a circle or in like a roundabout?
Are you talking when you guys were playing LAN or when you were playing single player?
When we were playing LAN, a couple of times we were in scenarios, Jason would be like, what the fuck? Who connected to my line?
Yeah.
And I go look on my map, and I was like, you don't even have a line. You have half a track built between your cities. And I look at his screen, and he's connected, running trains, and then there's just random track that's not his because it's in like highlighted in red, showing it's someone else's track, just like doing loops and going off into nowhere, or just connecting and not going anywhere. And it was only visible on his map, and nobody owned it.
Who was hosting?
I was hosting.
Yeah, he was always
You
hosting.
saying it's my fault?
Yes.
Just like this show.
It's corporate corruption. Your train industry tried to bankrupt his. I played LAN for 2 hours with you one day. The only thing I noticed was that when I would drag the track, it was clear that the host was doing all the processing because it would take a good 2.5 seconds to lay the track. And there were several times where I'd have the track, I'm driving a line from Berlin to I don't know, Bremen. And I've got the line perfectly dragged out, and I let it go, and it's supposed to go Berlin to Bremen, and it manages to hit one, house or apple tree in the way. A house. There's no apple trees. And it just stops halfway there, and now my train line literally ends at a house, and I can't turn it because it's so close to the house.
Yeah.
But I didn't never have any like loop-de-loops form, or it's the multiplayer is less than stable, but it's a game that's 17 years old, 16 years old.
2003. Do math.
Yeah, 16 years old because it's 2019 right now.
That's why I keep you around.
Yeah, that and my hot video game ability. Did you find any bugs, D?
Well, the Zapper just got one a few minutes ago, but there is a fly buzzing around in here that's kind of bugging me. You mean the game?
I suggest so many things for this podcast, and it's like, that's not content related. Podcast recording time, let's talk about flies.
Uh-huh. I mean, there is a fly in here. Y'all have seen it. And he has seen us. Yeah.
Fly on the wall.
The bugs didn't bother me.
Agreed.
Because I've been dealing with them since 2003.
Yeah.
So I kind of know how to avoid them. Like with the track problems, like I know not to build long runs of track at a time.
Yeah, you have to build little short ones.
Because it'll tell you it's going to build, and then if there's a house somewhere, it'll stop, and now you're stuck there.
Well,
and especially in multiplayer, you can't undo.
Exactly. You lose the undo button in multiplayer.
Yeah.
You cannot say whoops, and that's just like maddening.
I think the one bug that really kind of broke the game for me a couple of times, I came across it earlier today, was I do the hub. What is the word for it? Strategy.
Yeah.
Where say you have 6 cities.
It's a good strategy.
You find the most central city, make that your hub city, and then you have spokes going off to all the other ones. So all the cargo, all the express comes in straight to this one hub city, and then you move that on to the next hub city, which has its own spoke cities. And it worked out pretty well. It was the first time I ever tried that. I just found it online. But in that strategy, you have your maintenance facility and your water and sand tower only at that hub city. That way, once you bring in a train, it drops off whatever it's carrying as cargo, and then it goes empty to the maintenance facility, and then it goes back to pick up cargo, so that you're not losing, cargo degrades over time, so you're not losing value.
The value of cargo degrades over time.
Right.
Well, as the cargo degrades, right, yeah.
Yeah, I did the hub strategy as well. I just didn't do that. I grasped that strategy. I just didn't feel the necessity as I was doing it.
Yeah, it's not necessary, because I think that especially in shorter scenarios, the money you save versus the time that's wasted with the trains going empty to and from the facility might be negligible, but in 30-year scenarios, I think that'll definitely add up.
Well, I think it also, because it adds up, but it prevents you from losing, because the cargo builds up slowly at stations based on production facilities, houses, whatever, and if you put that cargo on a train and then drive it to a maintenance facility, the whole time it's there, the price is degrading. That cargo is generating on a slow ticker that you can upgrade some buildings to make them generate cargo faster, but it reduces the loss of money. The downtime on a train is when it's empty. It doesn't ever have cars on it unless it breaks down.
Right.
Which I've been doing the same thing until I saw you play with cabooses, and I shut up. Oh my god! I'll get there. The jokes. I'll point at you guys when you can make jokes about my caboose. But putting the cabooses on there really does reduce the breakdown time. They're both giggling. They're still giggling away from the mic. All right, let's hear some jokes about my cabooses, guys.
It's real big and red.
Yeah.
I keep a lot of tools in it so I can maintain my train while I'm running between cities.
Did you teach me how to caboose?
Because that's the shirt you're wearing.
I'm going to open a Nutter Butter just to ruin some audio on this podcast for no reason.
Don't do that. But anyways, the reason I was...
in your butter.
The reason I was talking about the hub strategy is because, you only have the maintenance facilities in these hub cities. So every train that I have coming back is going to drop off its cargo and then go to the facility and then go along its merry way. And it was great because all of a sudden all my trains were breaking down and they had that little wrench icon showing that they needed to have maintenance, or the oil icon or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, the oil cans when they're low oil.
I think it's the wrench.
The wrench is
when they're actually broken down.
Oh,
so the oil can is when they need maintenance. And all of my trains had it. And I was like, okay, I didn't fuck up my routing on all of these. I just look at it and they're going through the maintenance facility and wouldn't stop, even though they needed maintenance. And I checked the maintenance facility, and you can see how many trains per year it serviced and all that.
Yeah.
Has never serviced one. So I was like, okay, weird. So I deleted it and placed another one, which is $100,000, and it still wasn't working. There's just something wrong with the map. It happened a couple of times to me in a couple of different scenarios.
So there's one thing that you did neglect in that strategy of yours, that you can set the destination of the trains to the maintenance.
I didn't neglect that. I told you that.
Yeah,
that's what you were just saying.
That's what he's saying. He set their destination to the maintenance facility. They would drive to it, not stop, and then drive back to their next destination.
So what I would do is on the track past the station, I would have maintenance facility and then sand tower.
Okay.
And I would set their destination...
Service tower. Sorry, it's water too.
Well, it was a sand tower for me. So I set them to go to the sand tower, and which means they would drive through the maintenance facility. And normally, if they need maintenance, they just stop automatically. Yeah. Wouldn't do it.
So. There is. I did find a setting, and I only found it once, and I never screwed with it because I would set up so they'd go hub to service tower, which is water and sand, to hub to spoke, back to hub, then service and maintenance, because you used a lot more water and sand than you did oil, and so that way I didn't have to do service like water tower and maintenance on each run. But I did notice when I was tweaking around with it, there's a way to set them where they won't. So like, say you've got two large cities, let's say New York and Chicago connected, and there's a service center in Albany, but your train can make it all the way to Chicago without needing service. It can drive through there, and you can set it to not stop unless it's told to. I didn't ever tweak it because I wanted them to randomly stop, because my fear was sending them to a maintenance facility at 40% oil, them saying, no, I've got enough, then not making it to their destination. Okay. But you could turn that off, so you could have an express line run from New York to Chicago, pass through... Albany's north. What's a city in western New York? Doesn't matter. Pass through another maintenance facility and not stop. But then when you sent them to the maintenance facility, that was when they did do their maintenance. When you told them to physically go there, that's when they did it.
From what I understand, though, so like what I was saying I do is I just send them to the sand and water tower, and when they pass through, if they don't need maintenance, they won't stop at it.
Usually. I mean, yes. It's like they would stop, at least I never saw any of them stop with above 70% oil. Not that there was a percentage, just eyeballing the little bar.
There is a percentage.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah.
On mine, I just had the little bar. But I also never sent them, like, I had the maintenance facility further down than the water tower, so they were never being sent.
Oh, I got you. See, that's why I did it the other way around.
Yeah.
Because they're going to need sand and water more often.
Yeah.
And then if they are going to that and they happen to need service, then they'd stop.
I put my... Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So it's possible that... But see, there's the thing, if it never serviced any train, because, like, if a train's got 90% oil, it's not going to stop.
It was definitely a glitch, because they all needed service and were just driving right through it.
The only thing I could think is maybe you had bumped a hotkey or a button to tell them to never service, but you had the problem over multiple scenarios.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible I accidentally hit something.
Yeah. So what I started to do is, since you told me about that they need water more than they need a maintenance, what I did was, when I was using my hub's strategy, I would make the tracks break off right after the maintenance. So they're always, right before they're coming back to the main hub, they're always having to pass through the maintenance and then just putting like more just water towers around,
right?
And that actually helped a lot. So it didn't, like, that's what I did instead of just assigning them to. So it was like they have to go through this, all the trains have to go through this one spot. So
right, yeah. And I think, like what we were saying, the difference between that and what we were doing is your trains have cargo and they're stopping and getting service. So it definitely works. Like, you were doing really well in the game.
That's the entry. Not the entry, the like tutorial way is you connect two cities and put the water and service tower dead center.
Yeah, they put them like directly in the middle. Yeah, I stopped doing that.
Yeah. Do you guys ever have where you'd have a hub? And so this happened in the Germany campaign where you could go into France, but I didn't want to pay for it. And so my hub was like Strasbourg, which is in southwestern Germany, but there's two cities further south, and the second one was just too far away. And so I didn't want to build another hub for one city, and I didn't want to go into Switzerland or France. So I just had one. It was completely a waste of money. It was a one spoke city of like 4 houses in way southwest Germany with a full maintenance and water facility in town, and it's 3 houses, a train station, and a maintenance. Like, $130,000. I don't care. I'm making $4 million a year. This is fine.
Sometimes you got to do it.
Yeah,
I think the most fun part of the game for me is kind of like end game in the scenario when you have more money than you know what to do with.
You're getting money faster than you can build the track to connect.
Yeah, towns. And you can just have fun with it and be like, well, now I don't have to worry about profit. I can just play with choo-choos.
Yeah, I can spell "fuck you" with the track for no reason, and the game's telling me to fuck off.
Here's that actually leads directly into my second glitch that cataclysmically fucked me.
Cataclysmically
fucked me.
I like cataclysmy now.
Cataclysmy, baby.
Oh no.
Anyways,
talking about my caboose.
Anyways, so I was in that scenario where I had enough money, and I was basically in a SimCity scenario where I was just like, I just wanted to put this here and this here so I can make all the money and whatnot. And I go to, I forget what scenario this was, I forget what cities these were I was connecting, but I was just basically, got him. Basically,
I know Mo.
Doing what I wanted. I go to connect the city, I put down the water tower, then all of a sudden I had like 3 million, 4 million. I was in the whole 2 million.
I remember that.
Was it a tunnel?
And this wasn't LAN. This was a regular scenario. This is me playing like regular one-player mode. And I was like, oh my god, there's no way. How did I lose all this money? There's no way that track cost $2 million or like more than, there was no like, and so you had me look through like basically the books.
Yeah, like where'd you lose the money? And you had like there was his profit was more than his or his revenue was more than his expenditures. That money just evaporated, and it was great because I was like playing Rocket League or something, and I just hear, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Dude, what's the matter?" He was like fuming over.
I just lost $5 million.
Because again, this is my second time being like, "Oh man, I'm gonna win this thing!" Like, I'm doing so well at this game, I thought I was gonna suck ass.
That was my favorite. My favorite part of the game was in the README where I was like, "If your name's Jason, fuck you."
Yeah. You didn't read the README. It says README for a reason.
That was the last glitch of the day.
I really liked the longer scenarios that you could. This isn't a glitch, but where you'd see the train tech develop over time. That was like some of my favorite stuff. Where you start out with a crap train and you have to wait until you get a halfway decent one, and then
Goddamn Baldwin.
that stupid CHOO truck, like new train. Oh,
The Norris
It's a
was
yard-
the first
oh,
one.
God,
yeah.
that's one thing I missed from 2. That I played 2 back in the day. I played 3.
And you tried to boot it.
Oh yeah, I boot up 2 again. So in this one, the cargo will move on its own. So if you own 400 pounds of prepared meat, you don't let it rot waiting for someone to build a train line. You put that shit on a truck and drive it to a major city. Well, that's great because that's where my train's connecting to. Now I'll pick it up there. So the cargo moves on its own. In 2, it doesn't. So these cattle yards just sit in rural Nebraska doing nothing until you connect the train to them, at which point they're like, did you want 7 million cows? But you have to build to every little spar. You can't do hub and spoke because it's hub and spoke in, like, I don't know, river delta. You have to grab every little piece. If you want to bring grain to a bakery to sell bread in another town where bread price is high, you have to build a rail line to this grain farm out in the middle of nowhere and bring it in. Whereas in 3, that grain will naturally make its way to town. And there's a really cool economics like behind it. The economic modifier, what a price modifier. Why are you guys making those faces?
I don't know. That grain naturally finding its way to town sounded strange to me. I don't know why.
All right, so
I don't know.
That's probably why, like, I didn't, until, like, I guess today before we were started recording this, I finally got the aspect of that in this game where, like, no matter, like, even if I don't have a train connected to this area, the game will find a way to get this certain amount of items to another hub.
I don't know how many times I tried to explain that to you.
For some reason, I just couldn't. Yeah. For some reason, I thought it was something that I had to do, and, like, I just wasn't, like, wasn't there yet in that aspect of getting that part of the game down.
When I first started, the cargo moves on its own. It's like, that's retarded. And it's like, wait, no, it's not. But it moves along rivers and shit, and you'd end up with cities that were along, like, 2 cities next to a river, and you can't get any cargo because they're all running on the river. But think of it like the beer in your fridge. A train didn't deliver that beer, but it still moved.
You don't know.
I know, because we walked there together to buy it.
I can hear the trains downtown from here.
But the train didn't deliver the beer to your garage. Trucks did that.
Again, you don't know.
I do know. I literally was walking with you to get that beer, and there's no train track going to Sunrise Market.
I mean, there is a train track right there.
So the stock market, Jay, you had something to say on the stock market.
So to add on that, I understood all of that. For some reason, I thought it was something that I had to do, not that something the computer just naturally did on its own.
And it was that was probably one of my favorite things about the game, is that, like, it would move on its own, and as you developed your network bigger and bigger, like, if you made it to a town near a bunch of cattle farms, or like two towns over, the cattle would start migrating towards your station.
Not by their own. I'm sure there was cowboys, like, shepherding them.
Yes,
you know?
Yes. The
cowboys shepherding.
But there was a price list for every commodity. So near a cattle ranch, cattle, not meat, is cheap. Near a meatpacking plant, beef was more expensive, and so it was naturally trying to follow this price curve.
Yeah, exactly. I really like that aspect.
Yeah, and I did too. Except when playing friggin' the Orient Express. I'd always start in Vienna and run to that Budapest in Hungary, which runs right along the river. I did it 3 times before I figured out why I was failing. There's a river between the 2 towns. They didn't need a train. They didn't care. It was irrelevant to them.
So earlier today, when we were doing a little last playing before we recorded, Jason was doing the Intercontinental Railroad one where he had to go from Sacramento to Salt Lake City. And he started in Salt Lake, and he got his network up and running. To my surprise, because I was never seen anyone start in Salt Lake, because you got to go right over. Everything's mountainous.
Yeah. No, I thought I was very surprised. I thought I messed up highly.
I failed every time I started in California.
Yeah.
So maybe you had the right idea.
But what I thought was funny was he was like, asked my opinion. He was like, should I go up here? Look at all these cities up to the north. You know, it's not on the way, but there's a lot of cargo, because he was in, like, the look at the cargo, all of the cargo map, and there was a shit ton of cargo. And I was like, well, what kind of cargo is it? And I zoomed in, looked at it, and it was all logging camps. It was all logs. And I was like, cool, well, great. Go to the log view mode and see who wants to buy logs. And he opens it up, and it's all red. All 100% red, because everybody has all the logs they can ever possibly need.
Really
this
funny,
is an entire continent of forest we're chopping down for the world. We don't need logs here.
You have logs!
What I will say is, though, I did miss the distillery there, so later on in that game, I could have been making a lot more money, because that was actually became one of my, like, most money-making track.
On the Germany playthrough I tried, I was like, oh, I know, alcohol. That'll surely flow in rivers. It does. from every city in goddamn
You
Germany.
found
So
a river flowing with alcohol in Germany? What are the chances?
City, every third city on the Germany map had a brewery or a distillery in it. Like, the price was a solid green across the entire... So there was no low point to buy it at. You can't buy it at red and sell it at green. It was like the greatest price variance was 167 to 172. I'm like, why?
Those fucking Germans.
The distilleries, though, also all made money.
So yeah, as I was saying before, I never touched the stock market, though. That was one of the aspects of the game where I was just like, I'll save that for later.
Mm-hmm.
I used to not touch the stock market. When I played this as a kid, I didn't know, and I didn't understand buying, selling. I don't know what dividends were. I didn't know any of that crap, so I never bothered with it, because when I was playing as a kid, again, I wasn't trying to get gold or silver or what have you, where a lot of the scenarios you have to have a high personal wealth, and the best way to do that is the stock market. As I'm older now...
Specifically manipulating illegally now
Right.
the stock market.
Hey, man.
Which is what's so fun about this game.
Yeah, you can be ruthless. You should be ruthless. And I don't play ruthless now. I'll dip into the stock market in the game for fun, or if I need to do it for a scenario. But there is another kind of school of thought with the way to play this game specifically for multiplayer, and there's a specific time that Nate and myself learned about said strategy.
We let him learn the first time. We shouldn't have. We should have made him play.
So, a couple of years ago, myself and Nate lived together in a house with another good friend of ours whose name is Nick, who runs the website for this podcast, which everyone should
go. A lot of we never
which everyone should go to, and it's commandcenter.games. Go check it out.
But also, big thanks to Nick for all the work you've done on the back.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Thank you, Nick.
The entire thing, yeah.
The unsung hero up until now.
Yeah.
So
sing him again.
we wanted to play Railroad Tycoon 3. It was on sale for like $2 or something like that. We all bought it. And I think at the time I was the only one who had ever played it.
No, I'd played it back in the day.
You had played it?
I played a ton of 2, and I never bought 3. And yeah, I bought 3 when you and Nick bought 3, or when Nick bought 3, yeah.
Right. So we all picked it up, and we fired up, and I was like, dude, I'm going to fucking demolish these guys. Like, I am going to just ruin their night. And I did for a while. So I think we played one scenario, and
we played the Southeast.
I
desperately tried to make Florida work, which it doesn't in the 1850s, because it's just
there's nobody there.
Yeah, literally, I was like, I love the mighty Florida line. Like, they didn't even bother buying me because I was worthless.
I think that I think we played one scenario, and like immediately you guys went bankrupt or something, so we restarted.
The first one we had played, whatever, but the first one we played where Nick was able. They had grasped the game enough to play, and we were all running companies well.
I just remember that at one point we started a scenario and somebody went bankrupt, so we had to restart.
Yeah,
and then we had like a little conference, and we explained to Nick how the game works and what you're supposed to do. I don't think we even told him about the stock market. I think he found it independently.
Yeah, and check me if I'm wrong. The first time he attempted a hostile takeover, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
All I know is that I had a thriving company going. I was just making money hand over fist, and then all of a sudden I'm getting calls from my broker, and I'm about to get ousted from my company, and then cha-ching, I'm no longer the chairman of my company, and it's been taken over by Nick Incorporated, or whatever the hell he called his fucking company.
That was terrible.
And then you're like, what? And then a month later, you're taking over.
I don't even think he bought me because I was worthless. It was like, I'm not even going to... Because it was the same. We were playing Eastern Seaboard, and I kept trying to make Florida work because, Florida pride for no reason. And it never worked. And so I was watching you guys connect all these big northeastern and central eastern cities and the Ohio River Valley. And you guys were both growing pretty evenly. And then you started to take the lead in terms of size of rail network. And it's because he was manipulating the stock market to buy enough stock to out you. And so he outed you... And I still didn't have a good functioning lineup. I had like Orlando to Tampa shipping oranges to oranges. And he like looked at me and he's like, Nate, your value per share, your earnings per share is like, yeah, I'm in the red by a lot. He's like, I'm not going to buy you. And just like the game ended. You guys were buying because one of you was connecting to Chicago and he was literally, it was a race for a minute there. Who could connect to the city first? And then like one of you would connect and I just hear, fuck. And so you'd connect to a city, and Nick had gone to that city to buy the businesses in that city. So every load of freight comes from a business.
That sounds like Nick.
And he had bought these freight producers in this unconnected city, so their freight was inherently less valuable. Daniel connected it, so now every load of freight Daniel hauls makes Nick money.
So he basically didn't even touch the railroads. All he did was buy, like, cities.
No, he
Well, no, he-
bought,
He also touched the railroads,
and industrial places and just mess with the stock market.
He had a rail network as well,
He had an
but
established and profitable company.
rather than spending like his profits on expanding the rail network as aggressively as me or Nate did, he was
had no
buying up
profits.
the industries of the cities that he knew we were going to connect to.
Yeah.
So that now he is making profit on those
Exactly.
industries.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so it's
he,
like-
okay,
And
yeah.
then he would take the profit from those industries and buy shares in our company when it was cheap.
because
you-
once
yeah.
you guys connected, it drive those industries up.
But so
Right.
the industries would
Okay.
then make him money. But see,
Yeah.
it was making the company money, and he was buying shares. See, that's the thing that kind of throws me is that so playing the stock market in this game, I always tried to, you want to buy low, sell high. So when I'd issue stock, I would issue stock for the company, which the company is selling new shares of stock, making revenue, so it can build more track. But that forces the stock price down. So then, personally, my character would buy stock because the stock price would go back up because I'm using that money to connect more towns and haul more freight. And you can buy on margin and things that were done back in the day that are now outlawed or heavily regulated. And you can make yourself a ton of money or you can ruin yourself. What I don't get is how he got, because you need personally enough money to buy a shit ton of shares of stock. And so I don't know how the best way I figured out how to make money is either A, increase the margin, which is maybe what he did. He might have
The dividend?
the dividend, forgive me, he might have owned a majority share in his own company and increased the dividend to a reckless number so that the company's almost, like, say he owned 51% of the company's profits were being shoveled right into his pockets, which is something I did in one of the playthroughs required you to have 15 million in personal wealth. I completed all the objectives with 3 years to spare and just jacked the dividend up till it was the company's profit. But he managed to buy you out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like 5-6 years ago. I don't know. I mean, like, as far as I remember, all I know is I didn't even know you could buy someone else's company in multiplayer, and all of a sudden, all my hard work was down the fucking toilet.
If I
Were you
remember,
and
able
Nick was
to-
cackling over
Yeah,
his
oh,
desk.
yeah, he
Were you
was.
able to like buy another, like start another company?
I at this time I didn't even play the stock market, so I had no personal wealth.
yeah.
I
So
was
that's-
just done.
one of the things that, like, one of the reasons, at least in the single player game, that I've made a ton of money is if I'm buying out an opposing company, I'll buy some stock in it because then that stock votes the way I want it to vote.
Yeah.
And you can buy 51%, and that's one thing I did in one of my playthroughs. I literally bought like 60% of the available stock in a company, then paid double the stock price. So the stock price was $60, and I paid 120 because then all the money I had spent buying that stock was now immediately doubled in cash. So you can then go start a new one. But if I remember correctly, the first time when he was playing around with the back end controls, like the company controls, he tried to do a hostile takeover of one of us, which immediately failed because he hadn't yet bought stock in it. But when you do a hostile takeover, you're basically telling another company, like, I want to be your CEO, which means you're no longer your previous company's CEO. So it failed, and he was just left owning stock with no company. And
so when you attempt to do the takeover, you already lose your
I'm
company,
not 100%, but I believe you have to abandon your current position to do it.
If so, I never did it because
Mergers work.
I hadn't had a reason to. But
yeah, mergers.
if you do a hostile takeover and it succeeds, you forfeit chairmanship of your current company and just take over the other one. So I don't know if the other one just becomes controlled by AI or what have you.
Or the
I
board.
did see, which is a weird thing in a game that Jay and I were playing. We had a couple of AIs in there, and another company went under. They were having negative profits, so they're losing money.
Yeah.
Negative profits is a weird way to say that. Sounds very, very Wall Street.
Their
We're not losing money. We have negative profits.
their expenses were greater than their revenues for an extended duration of time, exhausting their liquid assets.
Oh, do you need a job, man? I mean, it's a spin.
well, there you go. I mean, they got liquidated.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it said that they were liquidated, and the line still operates. The trains go and
Yeah.
everything, but
Yep.
there's no company running them, and anyone can connect to that line and use those stations and stuff.
But we can't buy them.
You can't buy them.
Yeah,
They're not.
okay.
They're no longer there. It's just track and trains that run.
I think it's supposed to become like a local municipality because like,
Right.
it's
But
basically-
here's
Xeon.
I don't know if, let's say you were to connect to it. If you connect to somebody else's track,
you have to pay them.
you
right?
have to pay them for using the track, and then they get a percentage or what have you of whenever you deliver the cargo if you're using their station. I don't know if we never tried. We should have. 'Cause
I didn't
wanna
want
see.
to. I was like, I'm
pres-
just gonna give the AI money just to.
But there was no AI. That was a free company, so I don't know if that would still take a percentage since there was no company to
I
take
think
the
it said that
percentage.
it would.
Well, I
It
think
never said.
It
I-
definitely
I-
would because it's like the Packers. The Packers are owned by the city of Green Bay. They are not.
Let's
owned,
see how Nate compares this to football.
I'm actually not. I'm not the biggest football fan. I'm the smallest football fan here. But no, like the Packers are owned by the
That's
city. So the city has to sign off on if they want an extra $8 million to pay their head coach. The city, basically the elected officials of the city, get a vote, and on occasion will hand it to the people. So if the city takes over, you've got a rail line between Tampa and Orlando. It completely is financially destitute. It doesn't just collapse. The cities have the option to buy it. So now the cities own this as a public municipality. You run your trains on it. You still have to pay rent. You can't buy it because maybe the cities have said, we don't ever want one of these barons to come in and do this to us again. So this will be a city line. We own it. We eat its cost or profit, but we are going to use local ordinance to outlaw foreign ownership.
Baron train track.
So you've thought this through. Did the devs? Because I don't know if they went that deep into the philosophy of it. I just wanted to know if we're paying anything to anybody if we use that track.
I don't know where the money goes in game terms, but I think that's probably the idea behind it. They went deep enough to allow you to buy stock on margin. They went deep enough to allow you to do these hostile takeovers. These are really, really quite fun aspects of the back end of the game. You can only get to that stuff. Shut up.
All right, no, look, I went deep enough in the margin on the back end.
So, but they like, those are features that you will never figure out until you can make your train company successful. And the race isn't even to make your train company more successful than your opponents if you're playing multiplayer. It's to get to that point where you can start buying out their company. Because you can't, the only other way for, like, Jay's got the Tuscaloosa to Oklahoma line. The only way for me to stop you from making profits on that line is to set up an exactly parallel line next to you and just drain the track, the profit, the cargo
I do
faster.
that all the time to the AI.
Dude, when the AI is pissing me off, yeah. Or in that one, in the land game we played, the game would not let me connect to an AI's track, so I just built my own track next to him.
So there was one thing that I did by mistake. I was playing, I forget what scenario it was, but I was trying to oust one of the companies. I think they were in New York, and I was coming from... No, they were in Chicago, and I was coming from New York or something like that. And you're telling me about, like, what you want to do is just basically build your own.
You want to drive them out. So if they're in a city and you want it to be in that city, you build your own infrastructure.
Yeah. So basically, you wanted to build your own station. So I built my own station there. But I guess what I did was I connected to their rails by mistake.
Yeah.
So what I did was
you did the opposite of what I told you to do.
So their trains went on my rails. So I deleted that. I destroyed that part of the track. But their trains were still on those rails,
stuck doing nothing.
So yeah, they were just sitting there.
That's
so I was
vicious.
like, is that like a strategy you can use? Whereas like, are they still making money?
I completely forgot about that, and that seems like probably something that left in there on purpose because. Why not? People probably did that back in the days of like actual railroad tycoons. It was like, yeah, you can use our track. Come on, send everyone down. Come down to Sacramento. Oh, the track got demolished. There was a landslide.
Exactly. You also got to think though that in the game, the track, everything builds instantly. It takes a lot of time to build a track and a lot of time to rip a track up. They might have said it's closed for maintenance and like intentionally slowed. Like my train, you're a competing company, leaves Sacramento for Albany. And I take your track, and you're like, oh, track's down for maintenance, so your train can go from Albany to Saratoga to Sacramento. Like, look, our line connects faster and connects to more cities. I'm sure that people fucking
So
I
think they were, if I remember correctly, they actually were still making money. They were just using my station.
Yeah, so
because I fucked up and they ended up still being on my track.
Wait, so the trains that were on your track that was no longer connected to their track were still running?
Yeah, they were still running, so I'm pretty sure they were still... because remember when we were playing, I was able to set one of my destinations to one of your stations.
Yeah, you can. They just
interesting.
Yeah, so they were still making money, but they were just using my station. So I would assume that they were losing, or giving me a lot more money to use my station.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, but that's weird. I didn't know you could do that.
One of the things I've always wanted to try in multiplayer, and I'd love to play some LAN games sometime on this later, is start a company and never lay any fucking track. Just connect to other people's stations with just trains.
That'd be interesting to see what.
But the other thing that I was going to try it in our multiplayer. Daniel and I played some multiplayer, and I couldn't get. But my track wouldn't be allowed to connect to this. I literally could not connect to this track, to this opposing company's track. It wouldn't let me. It let me build the track all the way up to it, but they wouldn't let me bridge it. And the guy the AI had really poorly placed its maintenance shed. So what I wanted to do was put a maintenance shed directly in front of their maintenance shed or a water tower, so that their trains they would always hit mine first, and see if that would make it so that, like, yes, I'm paying to use their track, but since they're constantly paying me to use my maintenance shed and my water tower, that they basically it all evens
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Because there's got to be a fee on that. I've definitely
There is a fee. There's definitely a fee. Yeah.
That was always the worst part buying when you bought out an opposing company was like the AI doesn't use hub and spoke, and it's like, oh my god. If you just had 2 small cities, no big deal. But when you had major cities connected, it was like, oh my god, I have to fix this shit.
And also, when you're merging with another company, pay attention to how many bonds they have out.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I definitely fucked up. We were playing the other day, and it was awesome. Like, I felt great. And it's one of the reasons why I love this game was, like, the in-depth analysis that it forces you to make. And I was like, all right, I could either spend this odd enough money to make a rail to get all the way to this part to make it to make another hub, or I can just take over this company that's already in that spot.
Yep.
So what I did was I did that, but I didn't pay attention to how many bonds there, because they were obviously they were going under anyways. They were just going from one place to another, and that was it. They didn't expand at all. But yeah, just pay attention to that. I definitely, luckily, I had enough money to pay off their egregious amount in ones. I think they had like one at like 12%.
Yeah,
or something like that. So
I swear the AI can get so like I've always had trouble. You can't get a bond when you're going to C credit rating, and like you're just waiting to just have your credit score go up to triple B so you can get another bond to connect to a new city. But there were times where like the max interest rate I could get when I'd get a bond out at triple B rating was like 11%, and I'd buy out a company and they'd have bonds at 15% interest. Like how? How did you...
Seriously, I thought the same thing. I was like, how the hell did they... Were they even allowed to take out this loan?
So one thing that was bothering me was a lot of times I would see the little ticker you have in the top left where it tells you what trains are arriving and how much money you're making.
Yeah.
What companies are doing what. I would get all these notifications that such and such company has refinanced their debt. And I'm like, fuck, I want to refinance because I have 12% loans out right now. And I have a AAA rating now, so I want to refinance at 5%.
Yeah, or 6% or 8%.
I've never found a button to do that.
Refinance as in, like, not actually paying it off?
You're not paying it off. You're not taking out a new bond and pay. So that's basically what you do is but so, like, you can take out a new bond to pay off the old bond at your new credit rating.
Yeah, that's what he was just talking about before, yeah.
But the refinancing is because you have to pay that $10,000 fee.
Exactly.
And a refinancing would be saying, hey, we've got a better credit rating now, we're going to redo this bond, which I'm sure still has a fee, but I would hope it'd be less.
So, like, basically negotiating down the interest rate of a bond?
Based on your newer credit rating.
So, yeah, I never saw any, like, option to do that.
I went to the Railroad Tycoon 3 subreddit, and I asked. I was like, hey, the AI is always refinancing their bonds, and I want to do that too. Like, I can't find the button. I don't know where it is. Can anyone help me? And nobody answered, and I was like, fucking cocks. Like, I see that there
are 47 people on that subreddit.
So I see that there's 47 people on the subreddit, and I was like, and 5 of you are online.
I was one of them, though, so, you know.
This is horseshit. Why is nobody answering me? I was on the Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 subreddit. That's why nobody answered me.
So I'm not the only one.
Good. The acronyms are very similar.
Wait, what subreddit were you on?
Roller Coaster Tycoon 3.
Jesus.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So yeah, I've never found out if refinancing was possible. It might be that just the AI paying off a bond and then taking another, or buying a bond at a better credit rating and then paying off another one with it. It just puts that up as refinancing. I don't know. But I would like to see that.
Have you seen when, like, you pay off, like, your whole bond? What does it say?
It says that
left.
You paid off half.
It just says you paid it off. Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
So I would like to know y'all's favorite and least favorite parts of the game. Nate? The long inhale. I love it.
I don't even... For least favorite... Honestly, the train... The aspect of having...
The trains! I like the trains!
This is least favorite. Having crappy trains. I felt in a lot of the European maps where... I don't know what it was, but it seemed like the Sterling, which I believe was British, and I can't remember what the German one was. They were much faster than the U.S. trains, but they had no ability to deal with cargo over a grade. And so, like, there were times where the consolidated in the Texas map, I think, was 80 grand or 90 grand. And in the English map, it was 140 grand, which makes sense. You're shipping a steam locomotive across the ocean. But waiting on, like, my least favorite part was when you had trains, you had to basically cut your cargoes down or run excessively complex trains and routes because your trains were poor or low quality in tech. But that wasn't even least favorite as much as just that's the nature of the game. Favorite part by far is the The game, building trains.
The game?
I don't know how to describe it. I was having trouble describing it in the first place. But like literally just the aspect of connecting the routes and debating every little aspect of what your trains were going to do, and meanwhile trying to fuck the AIs as hard as possible. Like the game itself, it was just really fucking enjoyable. I wish there was war.
I have a quick question about like the train models that I want to confirm with you guys. In the earlier scenarios in the campaign, did y'all just use the Constitution for everything and never use any of the newer
Consolidated.
ones? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the best train in the fucking game. There's a reason that train is like the icon of the West.
There's no reason to ever use anything else.
You have to get to like the 1890s to find a better train.
So when I was upgrading the last game that I was playing before we started recording, when I was upgrading every train, that's all I was upgrading. There's
in the Orient Express map, you can choose your character is a former entrepreneur, and it says right at the beginning of the game, it's like, what did you do in your former career as an entrepreneur? Did you invest in tech, finance? There's 4 options, but if you do tech, the very first thing that pops up is it says, do you want to increase the hauling power of your trains, helping them with heavier cargoes at grade, or the top speed? And if you click hauling power, which I always did, it turns the consolidated from like 1 car to 8 cars and basically up to a 6% grade. It constantly goes 60 miles an hour, and it's fucking sick.
I didn't use any other train until I had electric.
Yeah,
there's no reason to.
There are, and there's the thing is, you guys played how many of the maps, the campaigns?
Over time I played them all.
Okay,
this playthrough I only stuck in the first because I was playing a lot of multiplayer.
Yeah, and the ones that we played together, I don't think we tried. We started. Something happened when we did the Germany one. I can't remember. Did we ever finish that one?
No.
I think it was one of the scenarios where twice I was ousted from my company for poor choices. Just not understanding the whole hub situation and just beginner fuck ups.
Yeah.
What really had me down was Dan saying that I don't know what happens when you when you get ousted. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, my bad, man. Because, the thing is, usually if I were to start losing and I know I'm going to get ousted from the company, I'll just fucking resign. Like, I'm not playing through that.
That's another aspect. So, one thing that I guess we're still on the likes and dislikes, so let's keep on going with that. But,
say whatever you want, man.
So, one of the, what I wanted to ask you guys was, what was your, recovery strategy from coming back from, deficits and when, you just don't have trains that aren't making a lot of money? So, basically, what I started to do when I had a better grasp of the game was whenever, and it usually was the trains that I assigned to pick up people, the expresses, just because I don't know people are finicky, I guess, I don't know. I'll usually go with the train that says, looks sharp, and plug that one for express and whatnot. But when that isn't working, I'll just put it for any cargo, but I'll still leave that caboose and dining cart on, and that'll at least start that train making money. And then another thing that I started doing was, you had told me that assigning, basically when you have 2 trains on the same track, you would make express be the
priority.
The priority.
Yeah.
So. And I remember making the comment when you were telling me about that, being like, that's weird, because when I took a train trip to New York, which was fucking god-awful, never do it. I'll advise you, we're talking about trains right now, it's fun to, make them, but Amtrak, go fuck yourself.
Oh, yeah. It's
anyways.
It's a hemorrhaging government organization.
Yeah, so what I started doing was, you know what, I'm just gonna do it like how they do in real life, because in real life, it's the goods that take priority over the actual people.
Yeah.
So in this last scenario, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to switch everything around. I'm just going to make goods the priority and people the less priority. And that made my funds go, that actually helped a lot.
Yeah, it absolutely can. I think it depends on the map. The reason that I put express as literally express, the ones that take priority, is because express passengers and mail degrade much faster than goods.
Significantly faster.
And at least in many of my playthroughs, express makes me a lot more money than freight does.
That's weird, because all the scenarios that I did, it was goods that was making me a lot more.
Again, it
There's
really
a lot more goods than there are passengers, but if a passenger car is worth 80 grand and a fucking cart of oranges is worth 20 grand, that cart of oranges has 2 months game time before it's worth 10 grand. That cart of passengers drops from 80 grand to 40 grand in a month. So if you can get them through faster the idea is freight's always going to be your bigger moneymaker because there's so much more of it, but the passengers are worth a lot if you can get them there quickly.
You're making more out of your available profits.
So that was basically my strategy to keep myself
Fuck
going.
the people, do Amtrak,
What do I
Amtrak, fuck the people.
Jason for president, 2020.
2020?
No, I'm good.
Fuck the people.
So what was your least favorite part of it?
Well, I guess, to recap my favorite part of it was putting myself out of the norm of regular games and having to actually pay attention to aspects of the game, like the goods. When we were looking at, that whole thing where it was like, all right, it's wood. How many people need it?
Yeah, you just looked and said, "Oh, there's cargo."
Not even wood, just logs.
Exactly. But just looking at the entire thing, just looking at all right, so this town needs this other town needs that and whatnot, and I don't know, just thinking on my feet and just basically the challenge. I really liked it. I don't know, and now it's really odd to say because thinking about my least favorite parts, I didn't really. Other than me just getting frustrated and not knowing what to do when I'm my company's in the shitter, because I guess that's probably the times where I can use the stock market and whatnot, and I just I haven't gained that aspect of that game yet.
You can't always that's something that you can the stock market can enrich your person, but the companies, all they can really do is sell.
You can basically issue stock. That will help you if you're
But it only at the beginning of the game you only get $90,000.
Yeah, and I think you can only do it twice in a year or whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, that was so. I guess, and then my least favorite was just the glitches when I was trying to win this goddamn game. So,
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
to just jump on the stock market saving the company, it can't happen, but you could just enrich yourself enough if you know the company's going in the shitter to get enough money to then start another company.
And leave this crippled, defunct company.
Which I've never done, but that would probably be an interesting thing to try.
When Nick bought me out, it was one of the games I was playing with you and Nick, somebody bought me out, and I had enough money to start another company. And so somebody had bought my non-profitable BS Florida two-city line, and I ended up richer than I started. I was like, I'm going to go find another company out in Mississippi. Why not? And
because it's Mississippi.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think I failed there too.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was because what was the first campaign, the first map where you have multiple competitors that you have to buy. They have it set.
I think it's the second one. The second
but the one you have to, and there's competitors in the second one. You have to buy them all out in the third scenario. You have to get gold. You have to be the only company.
That's the
St. Louis. The third one that I was just doing was the ones that you skipped over, where because it was so many mountains and whatnot. It would have been.
So it's the second one where you got to go St. Louis to whatever. You have to be the only operating company. At the end.
I bought everybody out.
St. Louis to Cleveland.
Yep. Yeah. And so the very next scenario was this is easy. Once I get some money, I'm going to buy all these companies out, which I did. And I enriched myself as much as possible, and the original founders of the company, who then immediately founded other companies. I bought one guy out of 6 different companies. Was like, wait a minute, what the hell's going on here?
So yeah, in that same scenario, St. Louis to Cleveland, it was the one where I was the first time that I bought another company and realized that they had a bunch of bonds that I didn't need to that I didn't look at. It was the scenario I think that Dan, you went through where it was just us two. I bought every other company, but it was just us two, but this company kept on making money, and I was just kept waiting for them to have less profits, because they were $2 million to actually put a dent in trying to buy in this money, and it was the end game, and I was I just need this for the gold, man. I just need it for the gold.
I want the gold.
What was your least favorite part, D?
My least favorite part. Right? I got one. So, because I am so dedicated to this podcast, and I just love all of our listeners.
My popcorn. I need to eat it loudly in the mic right now.
So much. I decided to listen to a book about the history of the Transcontinental Railroad and how it was built and everything.
Nerd!
Yeah, right. It was an audiobook too. So I'm listening to it. So that's just the background. So as I'm playing the game, you can either name your own character when you're playing multiplayer, or when you're playing the scenarios, it gives you a historical name. So you're you're
it's the first scenario,
Cyrus whatever, or
Cyrus B. Montgomery, or
whoever. I don't know. They give you fucking tycoon names, and these are all historical figures, real people. I was like, it's a cool touch. So in one of the scenarios, I see that my name is George F. Train, and I was like, man, that's so lazy. That is so fucking lazy. Like, oh, we're gonna make a game about trains. What's a player gonna be called? George F. Train, sure. And I was like, man,
It's like the first scenario too, isn't it?
it might be. I don't know. So I was just thinking, like, that is so fucking lazy. Like, I feel shitty about that. I'm gonna talk about this on the podcast. How they were so lazy they couldn't even make up a fake person or use a real person. And then I'm listening to the book, and they're like, and at the Union Pacific, they hired George Franklin Train. And I was at first pissed at myself because I was like, I don't know. How could I not know that? But also, no. What are the chances a guy whose name is fucking George F. Train being a real-life train tycoon?
And that's why they call them trains.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't finished the book, so maybe.
Are you going to?
Probably not. It was really dry. I got like halfway through. It was like 30 hours.
Who was narrating it?
I don't know. Boring McBoringson? I have no idea.
Train.
George F. Train himself was narrating it.
The word train has been part of the English language since the 14th
God.
century.
There we go.
I got Merriam-Webster's up over here, guys. You want me to go? I'll go.
So it wasn't named after Mr. George Francis Train.
Well, so check it out. There is an unused meaning of the word train spelled the same way in the 14th century, which meant scheme or trick.
And that's kind of apt for, the what's the word? Motif of 1800s railroad. Why are you guys staring at me like that?
It sounds like you're just stringing large words together and not
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I don't know.
Motif.
That's not a big word, you fuckhead.
It's big for me. It's big for me.
All right. So, anyways,
If I can't spell it, it's big to me.
my favorite part of it is, I think it's kind of what Jason said, but the mechanics of the game. Something about when you start a new line. And maybe you took out a bond to do it, so you're going to put yourself out on a limb. Yep. And then that first train starts up, and you're getting like 200K out of it, and you're like, fuck, yes!
When it says loading, and you're just sitting there with bated breath waiting, and then you see like almost 2 lines of coins pop up, you're like, how much is that? 500K? Yes! This was worth it. Yeah.
Immediately make your money back. Like and then that sound, the ching, 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 that you hear whenever like an expensive train comes in. Once you get to the end game and you have like one of my scenarios, I think it was the Midwest one, I had something like 95 trains running, and it was just a constant sound of all that money dropping. And there's something really satisfying about hearing that and just seeing like your profits go up, especially because a lot of the time in the beginning game you get into those dire straits where you're like, fuck, I'm gonna lose this scenario.
You got one train running from Denver to where the Air Force Academy is.
Colorado Springs.
Yeah, you've got one train running from Denver to Colorado Springs, and it makes money one way and not the other.
Yeah,
and it doesn't make a lot, and you're just waiting till you get that 120K you need to build the track to the next town.
And you dig yourself out.
And those goddamn board of directors cutting your
dude.
fucking fun.
They are annoyed with your performance.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, see Jason, you have a good point. They are neutral about your performance, and they've cut your salary by $5,000.
Yeah.
Hey, $5,000 back then was a lot of fucking money.
It's still a lot of fucking money.
I'm just saying. But
a lot more back then.
I feel like they did a really good job in this game of making the mechanics satisfying and making you want to continue, even if you're looking like you're not going to succeed. I don't know. There's just something really great about hearing those sounds when you make money and extending the track and connecting all the cities and just watching the trains every once in a while. Just watching like your big hubs, all the trains coming and going. It can be a lot of fun. Yeah, my least favorite part. I mean, I don't see any glaring issues with this game as far as gameplay goes. I don't want to harp on it for its graphics because it is from 2003, and I think that it's not aging particularly well. But for this type of game in an economics simulator, you don't really need good graphics. Really.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. Where I was like, that didn't even come into my thinking about this game.
It's aging well compared to like a shooter.
Yeah, I don't think it's aging bad.
There's a lot of games that from 2003 that you can't. It's hard to look at them, and like this one.
Well, I mean, that's exactly why there's so many HD remasters and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I if they were to make an HD remaster of this game, I would buy it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I don't understand what would be the point. Like, what could that was what I was saying before. I was like, what could they HD?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they can just completely revamp all the graphics. I would play it.
To add some more features as well. Like the game is amazing because of when it came from. I wouldn't If this game released today, like, it got, what, an 80 on Metacritic?
The only thing I can think of is, I guess, making it look more like SimCity. Because I guess the latest SimCity where it's more graphically intense.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing better model trains. I mean,
you must mean choo-choos.
Choo-choos, excuse me. Better model choo-choos because I want to play with my choo-choo trains.
Oh, Lord.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
I thought it was annoying for me. Then when he said it, it was even more annoying.
As most things usually are.
Yeah.
So any final thoughts?
The multiplayer, if it worked, I would be in love with this game. And even like the LAN we played here, you guys didn't have many problems with LAN. I played on Jason's PC with Daniel, and we crashed 5 times, and on the 5th time it stopped letting us reload the save.
I'm pretty sure it's some of the scenarios specifically are bugged.
No, because on the 5th time what happened was I had a Windows update which decided to take like 4 hours.
Also,
Is that why I found him sleeping in the garage?
Yeah.
Yes.
Even prior to that, though, we had tried. You tried loading, and it was glitching out. And this is on LAN, and the multiplayer online is good luck. It's a fun game, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, I would say definitely holds up way better than a lot of 2003 games. Any game from that era.
Yeah.
I've been playing it for ever since then. I've always had fun with it. Problems here and there, but overall,
I think there was one thing that we had to fix when we were trying to play. What was it where we had to put some sort of file? Because when we were trying to play initially, we couldn't see it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So if you buy from Steam, which I'm sure if you've already played the game, you know this, but I don't know if it happened to you, Nate, but when we bought it off of Steam, it wouldn't run on Windows 10. We had to download a patch. So I don't know what the fuck Steam's getting on about having to... Yeah, I think I emailed this to you. You're having to... They're selling a game that doesn't run inherently on Windows 10. I think they have a disclaimer on there, but they should just include the patch.
Yeah, it's a very small patch, too, but it's really weird because what was it? It's just like one thing in the background that doesn't work.
There's like a hardware acceleration or something that inherently starts checked in the game, and you have to uncheck it to get the game to run correctly on Windows 10, but you can't open the game to uncheck it. So you have to download like a fix file that just unchecks it inherently when you start the game.
So I was able to run it on this crap-tastic laptop, but it's also crap-tastic. So I
Thinking of what is on your lap today?
nothing.
It's not a mighty Dell. It is a mighty, mighty Asus.
It's making me
He
sweat.
has betrayed his kind.
Well, I may have somehow I damaged my charger, and now the damn thing's stuck in low power mode, and I can barely cruise the webs.
Dude, you're getting an Asus?
Dude, God, why do we keep saying dude? Fucking Dell.
I said it
God
once.
Damn it! I know, and then I immediately echoed you back by saying, "Dude, the computer I'm looking at's an Asus."
Sweet.
Yeah, no, Asus.
What does mine say?
Asus is top of the mind. Raped me. Sweet raped me. What? We crossed our movies. Oh, yeah, it was fucked me. Never mind.
Oh, God.
It's Scary Movie 3.
Yeah, no, I know what you were going for.
Oh, goodbye.
Right. So...
Was it 3? I thought that was 2.
Oh my God, who gives a fuck? So, if you guys aren't sick of us yet, follow us on our socials. We have a Gmail account, so definitely send us some emails with what you think, whether they're angry or happy or what have you.
Daniel checks it, so make sure there's unsolicited nudes in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
From the dudes.
Do
Nudes
that.
From the dudes.
Send me your penises. We're going to be at commandcenterpodcast@gmail.com. We've got a Twitter. It's commandcntr, I think. Our Instagram is going to be Command Center Podcast.
We also have a Facebook page that I'm apparently in charge of and have not done
You
anything.
set it up.
So
You set it up. It's linked to your account, so now you're responsible for it.
we've got a Facebook, but don't go to it because there's nothing on it.
I'll fucks with it.
Next week or next month, excuse me. Next month we are playing. What are we playing?
You selected
Ace
it.
Attorney!
Oh, yeah.
Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney.
Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, the game.
I wish. If there was a patch to make it,
I'll look up some mods.
God.
It's on Steam, so maybe there's in the workshop.
Yeah.
But we're going to be playing Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. The trilogy is on sale on Steam right now. At the time of recording, which we're recording on a
8:03
Sunday.
p.m. Eastern Time.
On Sunday, the 25th, by the time this episode goes out, I just realized that the game will no longer be on sale.
Whoopsie. I will actually be playing on the Switch. It was also on sale, $33, $20.
It probably will not be as well.
$20.
Right, it won't be on sale anymore, so sorry guys, we were like, yeah, we found a game on sale for everybody, and just realized we're recording.
I do not know if it'll still be on sale.
There's, I think, 17 hours left in the sale, so if you happen to buy it then.
Yeah, I assume it's like the same time frame.
Nate, no one's going to hear this until Friday. The sale ends in 19 hours.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, if they happen to buy it right now, not having listened to us.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
well,
I was implying that, yeah.
Good on you guys for having premonition.
Good fucking luck.
But anyways, apparently, so who hasn't played this? I guess just us two.
I haven't played it at all.
I played one of them, and I never finished it.
So, and he's going to be playing on DS.
I might play on DS.
Yeah, I'll be playing on Switch, and
I'm going to play it on an IBM Print Smart printer from 1983. I will be mailing in my actions.
Hey, I've seen it on Reddit.
I don't even know if Print Smart's a thing.
Well, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So that's our episode. You guys feel good about that one?
I have to pee.
I have to pee too.
I have to pee as well, so how are we setting this off?
Good night. Good luck. Buy some trains. Don't be a fuck.
Bye.
See you guys later.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Command Center, your video game book club.
Ah, yes. Our book clave, like our astrolabe.
Hi, ladies. My name's Frack.